Hello and welcome to Adventures in Venueland, an EAMC podcast. This is your all-access pass to go backstage and behind the scenes with some of the brightest minds that cross the scope of the live entertainment industry. I'm Dave Rettelberger.
And I'm Paul Hooper. We'll introduce you to some of our favorite people as we dive deep into the world of live touring shows and the venues that host them.
Our adventure today takes us to Glendale, Arizona, and what an adventure you guys are in for today. A long and winding path and a lot of fun. Kate Girotti is our guest today. She's the Regional Vice President of Marketing and Assistant General Manager with ASM Global. Kate, we've been trying to talk to you for a long time. Great to finally get you on here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. How are you guys?
Good. You're a busy woman. Let's talk about your current role, because that's quite a title. What do you actually do?
So right now I have a dual role. I oversee marketing for ASM Global on the venue level. So, we have 350 plus venues around the world, from convention centers, theaters, arenas, and stadiums. And I work with the teams in the field to maximize opportunities for their venues, from, helping the sponsorship team get in touch with the right people to find out what opportunities are available at their venues, to, helping a venue that, might not have a marketer. There was a lot of transition during the pandemic and afterwards. So filling in holes there, as well as, scheduling specialty calls. If a tour is going out, I'll connect with all the marketers that have the tour coming to their venue, and talk about, hey, how can we maximize opportunities for ticket sales, putting together systems and processes for our venues. Take the lead on a lot of our new builds. We just opened up Techport Center and Arena in San Antonio. So I kind of was the lead there, helping the local team get up and running. I'm getting the PR and the marketing situated for that venue and carrying them through the grand opening. And then in my spare time, I'm the assistant general manager of our NHL facility here in Glendale, Arizona, Gila River Arena.
In your spare time, that's good.
Yep. Spare time.
So how often? So you must be on the road all the time.
I am. Post-pandemic, I've been on the road quite a lot. ASM Global was created in 2019, with the merger of two companies, and then the world shut down. So we hadn't had a lot of interaction with a lot of our venues, a lot of our teams in the field. So now that COVID, it's not over, but has settled and we're back to business, I am out there a lot, in the field, welcoming new accounts, hiring new faces, onboarding people, and really getting to see a lot of the venues that I haven't seen before. And it's been great just connecting with those people in our organization.
Is that something, I think there's a lot of people that listen to this podcast, and also myself included, that are these kind of venue geeks, right? Like every new arena, every new amphitheater, whether you work for it or have any stake in it or just seeing a concert there for the first time, you're looking at all the little bells and whistles, you're kind of geeking out. I'm assuming you're the same way. Is that really fun? I'm sure the travel can be exhausting, but it's also got to be exciting to constantly be seeing new building, new spaces, kind of working within whatever their toolkit is, because everything's a little different, and sort of, taking some of that knowledge that, I saw this over in this city, I saw this in this city, how can we plug this into this new one that, is around? You're definitely being exposed to probably more venues than almost anyone else.
Yeah. And it is fun because, I go to some legacy venues, that have been around for 50, 60 years that we've renovated. Nassau Coliseum is one that I was a part of when I was at BSC Global, which is now in the ASM Global family. So going back there and doing 2 Elton John shows and kind of full circle, I worked there in 2006, and then from 2015 to 2018. And then again, now it's one of the ones that I oversee to brand new builds like Techport Center and Arena and, Movie Star Arena and Antel Arena down in South America. So you really kind of get to see, hey, how are we taking these amazing legacy buildings that have so much history, from Elvis walking the hallways and, stuff that you can never recreate, right? To these new super technologically advanced venues, to really cool and unique properties as well. We're not just in the arena and stadium game. We have Cowtown Coliseum in Fort Worth, which was a new project this year. It's 100-plus-year-old dirt floor rodeo arena, and it's the first ever rodeo arena in the country, I believe. So it's been really cool just kind of seeing all the history of the stockyards in Fort Worth. And it's not just the venue, but kind of the culture around the venues, because as every market is different. So I've kind of get to immerse myself in all these different cultures. And, I'm from the South one week and I'm from the Northeast one week. So it is a lot of fun. And, finding the right people for the right positions has been great too, because there's a lot of people out there that have either been in the industry or I've always wanted to get into the industry that I've really kind of become a mentor and a friend to. And I think that's kind of the thing that I love most about my job is the people. Paul, we've known each other for years. Kind of the friendships that you build. So I feel like I can couch surf on any city that I want to. Just because of the relationships that I've made through this profession.
So, obviously, working with, from, legacy arenas to dirt floor buildings, right? You kind of get to see it all. And one of the things we love about this podcast is getting to hear people's, journeys and their adventures. But what makes, dealing with people, of all across the globe, venues of all kinds and sizes, what makes a great arena marketing person?
Gosh, I think somebody just, you have to have a personality and you just have to be a creative thinker. Obviously we see our work friends and family like more than we see our regular friends and family. So somebody that just, they love what they do and they want to continue to learn. I think, there's, with technology the way it is today, something changes, every 24 hours sometimes.
Right.
So somebody that just always has their finger on the pulse of the industry, is always looking for like the next cool thing. Somebody that's open to learning and, constructive criticism and feedback, but it's also a team player. Kind of what you were talking about before, like I get to see all this cool stuff, Thursday night, I was across the street at State Farm Stadium at Coldplay, so that's a completely different experience. It's a stadium show. And I know their marketing team really well. And then I went up to Oakland on Friday to the Pearl Jam show. And, they have this amazing back of house experience and artist experience and just, the rich history in that building. And then I came back to my building on Saturday and we had an Eric Church show. So all, 3 large concerts with 3 major headliners, but very different personalities doing the marketing at the buildings, but all doing a tremendous job. So it's really somebody that's kind of immersed in the local culture and can really kind of bring that experience, not only just to public facing and selling tickets and developing those relationships with your media and your promoters, but also kind of can get that cultural flair into what they do for that artist and fan experience at the venue, because, it's not just, selling the tickets to the fans. It's also, hey, why are people going to continue to come back to our venue? And what are we doing that's special and different? And how are we creating that Arizona, California, Texas, whatever it is experience for the artists so that they're not like, where am I tonight?
Right. Yeah, I think that's an interesting point in that, there is, of course, things that are consistent maybe across the ideal marketer, but I think we all know so many different building marketers that they're all different and their teams are different and they really should be. And so sometimes it's almost like whatever makes a better fit for that market or for that team, more so than, this is the ideal marketer, because you might get the best marketer from New York City and you put them in, small town America and they have no idea what they're doing because they don't know that, or vice versa, So I think you make a good point in that, as much as you do need to have a very expansive toolkit and you need to be, constantly trying to innovate and, be open to criticism and, constantly looking for that next thing, you also have to find the right person for the right place.
Mm-hmm.
Kate, when you are home, where's home for you these days?
Home is in Scottsdale, Arizona, but I'm from the East Coast. I grew up in Western Massachusetts, spent a majority of my adult life, quote unquote adult, in New York City. So I do own a farm. A lot of people do know that. Some people don't, but I own a farm in upstate New York, and I love to spend a lot of my time there. So
yeah, a farm, really?
Yeah.
So how do you manage that with being in Arizona sometimes and the farm back home? You've got to have some other folks helping you out too, right?
I do. I have a property manager. I bought, it was a huge old dairy farm. I bought the apple orchard, the pear orchard, and the old farmhouse. So it is definitely a work in progress. Chip and Joanna make it look a lot.
That's what I was going to ask. Yeah.
But it's a labor of love. And it was a project that I purchased in 2016 when I was living and working in New York City. And, obviously with the pandemic and everything, things have slowed down there, but it is, it's a retirement dream. So it's just kind of, there right now, but it's a beautiful escape for, when I need to get away, and my family's still there. So it's nice to be able to get home and see them.
You can follow your adventures, right? On Instagram. What is it? Is it I Bought a Farm, right?
Yep. My farm website is, or my farm instance, I bought a farm. I don't know how that handle is still available, but not much happening on there right now with the prices of gas and flights. But I hope to get back there a couple of times this year.
I do find it really fascinating. And you sort of talked about it, but you seem to, not in a negative way, but you seem to kind of live in the extremes then, right? You're kind of like city hopping, these big major markets, big things. And then it's like when you need to disconnect, you're really disconnecting. You're going to the farm in upstate New York on an orchard with cows. Like it's like once you hit that breaking point, you're like, okay, I'm pulling all of the cords out of the wall and we're literally going to go.
I mean, luckily I do have internet there, so I don't get to completely disconnect. But yeah, I'm the kind of person that, I go like 110 miles an hour, but I need to be able to turn it off. So like if there's a Saturday or Sunday, I don't have an event, I'm hiking 7 to 10 miles in the woods. I'm taking vacation next week and I'm going to Alaska because there's no cell service, right? It's like, You're right. I'm very like, hey, put me in the middle of Manhattan and I'm in my element, but at the same time, turn around and put me in the middle of the woods with like nothing but a compass and a bag of granola and I'm in heaven,
Right. Yeah.
You got, the cows and the pigs, the whole deal, right? This is not just like a little nature, like little thing with a porch. You're really doing it.
Well, the cows and the pigs are owned by the person that bought the property across the street. So I get all the benefits of having the animals.
Nice. Okay. All right.
Experience them, but I don't have to pay for them or care for them. So yeah, so I kind of get the best of both worlds. But those guys, they actually take care of my house when I'm not there, and they look over it for me and mow the lawn and everything else. So it's nice it's a nice little community. And I'm actually close enough to our venue in Albany that if I do go home, I've spent some time at the Albany venue with that team. It's about like 35, 40 minutes away. So I'm not that far out and disconnected.
Let's talk a little bit about your team there in Arizona. So talk to us about your role there at the Gila River Arena. Am I saying that right?
Yes. Yeah, sure. Here, I'm the assistant general manager. I oversee the box office and the marketing team. Our venue is very small in terms of a team because, we had the NHL team here for a long time. They actually just finished their last season here. So we're expanding our team. But I have a very small marketing department of 2. Right now, I do have an open role. If anybody listening is looking for a director level marketing position and would love to come live in Arizona, I highly recommend it. But yeah, so I oversee them. I know various buildings have different size departments, but here, our team wears a lot of different hats. You're the publicist, you're the webmaster, the social media person, working with booking and artist gifting. And my box office team is great. Our box office manager came from Ticketmaster. So he's been a blessing to have. And then we just hired an assistant box office manager right after the pandemic. And they're great because, one thing with our venues is we're not quote unquote open ticketing, but we do have 2 ticketing systems in place. We have Ticketmaster in place for Live Nation shows, and then we have access ticketing in place for AEG shows. So
do you think that's confusing to the consumer, or how do you guys manage that? Because a lot of people have flirted with that idea.
Or is it just like you hit the buy tickets button? It doesn't really matter on their side,
Yeah. We're working through it. I think it hasn't necessarily hurt ticket sales at all, but it's kind of educating that consumer and working with the promoters to say, hey, it really makes sense to put either the Ticketmaster or the access ticketing logo on your ad mat so people know where to find it. Because, how many times you're like, oh, XYZ is coming to my venue. Let me call Paul and see if he wants to go. Right. So if I call Paul and he's like, yeah, let's go. And then I go to one ticketing platform versus the next and I can't find it. Then it's like, where did I see that again? Yeah. So hopefully they are going back to our websites. We do a lot of programmatic and, digital retargeting and social. So hopefully we'll be able to follow them. But it's just been kind of great for the promoters but it's definitely had some challenges, but we're working through it. It's still pretty new as our venues are coming back online, but each system definitely has, their different nuances. So everybody's still learning.
Is it tricky? Because I think it would be for me. That's why I ask. Is it tricky to kind of, show that support to the home building while you've also got your focus in, 100 other places?
Yes and no. I think because I sit here and I'm here every day, and I've actually been here through the pandemic, because we were one of the 4 buildings that had an NHL team that was playing home games with fan during the pandemic. So when ASM Global was formed, I mean, I've always been the RVP, even when I was the AEG, but, everything was so venue focused and, then communicating to the team in the field, I was doing it all from here. So I haven't kind of had that separation. There are some times, like when I am on the road, opening Techport for the month of, April, I wasn't here a lot, but, I'm always calling in. I'm, constantly talking to the staff and the GM, but they're very supportive of what I'm doing, because a lot of the things that we get to do as a company, our venue gets to be a test case for, good, bad, or indifferent. Sure. So we get a lot of opportunities that some other buildings, might have to wait on, because we're kind of being that case study. So, there's definitely pros and cons. I mean, there are some times that I definitely feel like, I'm spread thin, and I put a lot of pressure on myself. I think we all do, we're type A individuals. But sometimes I feel like I'm doing a disservice to one or the other, because maybe, one day the venue is asking a lot of me. So maybe I'm not able to get back to somebody on the corporate side as quickly as I would like to, and then vice versa. But that's just kind of a struggle that I have. But, Alex Merchant is our EVP of marketing on the corporate side, and he and I have a great relationship. And, I can talk to him about that kind of stuff, saying, hey, what is the priority for this week? Because I don't have a marketing director right now, and I really need to support, because we have 3 or 4 shows on sale. And then, on the flip side, Dale Adams, our GM here, he's very supportive of my corporate position, and, very flexible with me. And, we have a great relationship, and I check in with him all the time and say, hey, are you okay with me doing this? Like, I need to be here. I need to be there. And luckily it hasn't been an issue. And balls have not been dropped, but we're getting real busy again. So it's good. It's been a real challenge for me, but an exciting challenge. Been able to be involved in a lot of high level projects, which is great.
One of the projects that you're involved with that I wanted to ask you about was, your position as a board member with Rivals. Kind of talk about pulse on what's happening next, right? So talk to me a little bit about that, and because Rivals, some gamification kind of fun.
Yeah. So actually a good friend of mine from college lives out here in Scottsdale, and he was a hockey player, and I ran into him and his wife at a hockey game here at the arena, and we kind of reconnected. And he's working for a company called Rivals Media, and they really gamify the live event experience. So they've asked me to come on as an advisor and just kind of give them some insights to the sports and entertainment world. So what we've been able to do is work with athletes and coaches, a lot of stuff on the NFL side, where you can play along with a football game. We did it with Bruce Arians and the Bruce Arians Foundation with Tampa Bay, actually the year that they won the Super Bowl, I think 2 years ago, when Tom joined the team. And it's a lot of fun, because you can be sitting at your house and you're playing along for charity. So it's like, hey, who's going to win the coin toss? Are they going to make X amount of points in the first quarter? Kind of like you would do with the BetMGM, but a lot of it goes back to charity. So it's all going to the Bruce Arians Foundation or that sort of thing. Now they're trying to branch out. They're doing some stuff with some TV shows. They're looking to do some stuff with concerts and festivals. And I'm kind of making this up. Some of the conversations we've had have been like, hey, what are the first 3 songs of X going to be? Is it going to be, A, B, or C? Or how many outfit changes is so-and-so going to have? So they're really trying to figure out how they can kind of get more ingrained in what some of the artists are doing, because we've all been asked to do something like, hey, can we do a food drive? Or can we add $1 to the ticket for the X Foundation? Or can we round up for charity? And this is kind of gamifying it so that everybody that's at the venue and at the concert can play along. For the sports, it's more like, hey, doing it from home, watching, because everybody has a second screen, right? When you're watching a game on your couch. But for the concert standpoint, they're trying to do it like from inside the venue and say, hey, prizeification, and hey, you can get a meet and greet, or you can get a signed XYZ, or hey, spend an extra $20 here and, be automatically entered to win the X. So they're really kind of still figuring it out on the live event side, but they've really gotten a lot of the sports pretty wrapped up. So it's Rivals Media, if anybody is interested, and a lot of football coming this summer and fall.
Interesting. Well, and I think maybe you could speak to sports too. I do feel like you're a huge sports fan, right? And I'm trying to remember your home teams or who you root for, but it does feel like as much as you're at, different concerts and stuff, you're also, at all different types of sporting games as well. Is that something that you've loved, that you've fallen in love with since being in the industry? Have you always loved it since you were a kid?
Yeah, I actually, I was an athlete. Being 6'1", you kind of have to be, at least a basketball player, right? But I started my career in sports. A lot of people don't know that. I started on the team side, working for AHL and then NHL hockey teams. I actually learned at the venue side because I was down with the Florida Panthers in 03-04, and it was one of the first teams that was really the team and the venue were one. So while I was still doing the team marketing, I also learned how to do the family show and the concert marketing. And that's kind of where I pivoted a little bit into the venue side. And then from there, I went home. There was an NHL lockout. So I took a new job opening a venue up home in Massachusetts. And that was really I was a booker and a venue marketer. And then from there, I went to Nassau Coliseum and I was doing marketing and I was an event manager, which I have so much respect for event managers because I cannot be at the venue at 3 or 4 a.m. meeting the trucks and working 48-hour shifts. So event managers, thank you so much. I empathize with you, but yeah, so I've kind of seen both sides of the industry. And that's one of the things that I really love about my job. It's even though I'm on the venue side, most of my venues have been NBA or NHL arenas. Up in Oakland, I was fortunate enough to be there when the Warriors won their first championship in 2015. I also now have the relationship with the Raiders because we were A's, Raiders, and Warriors. Chris Wright has had me involved in a lot of the stuff with the Allegiant Stadium through my current role. So I've, kind of got to see from the historic venue in Oakland to the brand new shiny Allegiant Stadium. I've got to spend a lot of time there. So yeah, it's very interesting and kind of the parallel paths that we run. And then, before I came back to ASM Global with BSE Global in Brooklyn, we had the Nets and the Islanders at the time, and we had, 1.5 venues. I think I opened 2 venues there in the 3 years that I was there. So getting to do a lot of the cross promotions with the team. I did all of the suite and premium and food and beverage marketing for BSE Global in addition to the concert marketing. And then I also oversaw all of our sports marketing that wasn't team related. So boxing, college basketball, UFC, all the non-traditional, not the NBA stuff. So I've still been able to keep my hand and stuff. So yeah, I guess I've been busy, but I love it. I love, that's the best thing about our jobs, right? You're never going to have the same day twice. We're not sitting there doing a mundane task over and over and over. There are some things, our reports and whatever we're doing every day, but you never know, is Mick Jagger walking down the hall, you're going to say, oh, hello, as you pass by, or, back in the day with the circus, you just have an elephant walk by you back in the house or something, right? You never know what's going to happen. And I think that's one of my favorite parts of the job.
Definitely. I love the uncertainty and the absurdity that sometimes this business brings.
Yeah. We have plenty of stories we can't tell on this podcast, but we all have those moments. You're what
you can tell them,
did that really just happen?
So Kate, you were back, we talked about college a little bit, so you at University of Massachusetts Amherst, right?
Correct.
Get your Bachelor of Science in Sports Management. What did you think when you were in college? What did you think you wanted to do?
Oh, I was going to work for Nike like everybody else, and I was almost kind of going to be an agent, and I was going to negotiate contracts for athletes and do all this cool sponsorship marketing stuff. And then I got an internship interning for they were the Springfield Falcons at the time. And, I really kind of owe my entire career to Bruce Landon, the former president of the Springfield Falcons, because I was an intern there for, I think, 2 seasons. And then when I graduated from college, I was doing PR for Six Flags New England. It had just switched from a mom and pop Riverside park to a major theme park. And I kind of oversaw the PR for that as a 22-year-old kid. I have no idea what I was doing in that role. But then the New York Islanders were starting a farm team, the Bridgeport Sound Tigers, and they, called Bruce Landon to see if they knew anybody, and Bruce recommended me for my internships. And without that phone call, I have no idea where I'd be, and I mean, almost every single position I've ever had has really been a reference from somebody that I've worked for in the past. And I think that's something that's really important for people that are starting out in this industry. It's just kind of, those relationships are so important. It's even if you want to be the chief marketing officer for X organization, take the job as the concessionaire or the ticket seller, or, get your foot in the door, because you never know what those relationships are going to do for you down the road.
Yeah.
I definitely, know that that's very true firsthand. And sometimes it's the, and I don't want to say flailing around, but sometimes it's figuring out your own way, whether it's at Six Flags or with the Bridgeport Sound Tigers, right? Because when you're working for sometimes an organization that may not know everything, right? You get your hands into so much more and you learn so many different aspects of the business that are going to help you in that next job down the road.
Exactly. I mean, I took a break from the industry. I left, I left Nassau Coliseum and I was hired by actually one of our clients to be their national marketing manager. And that's where I learned a lot about retail and developing websites and white label and brick and mortar stores. And, and that's kind of helped me in terms of like, hey, we have merchandise and we have, XYZ that we need to do in pop-up shops. And then I left there and I went to a hotel, and in the hotel,
Roosevelt?
I was at the Roosevelt Hotel in New York City and I loved that job. And I did like catering and event sales and marketing and PR and food and beverage. So, now kind of right now, because our team is leaving, we have a lot of open dates, right? So we're really focusing on private event sales. And so I have a background in that, in a kind of weird roundabout way, in the food and beverage experience that kind of helps me in terms of helping set up a catering and private events program at our venue and other venues. So it's interesting, like the path that I have taken to get here, but it kind of all makes sense when you look back and connect those dots.
Yeah. And I think to your point, taking that step outside the industry is really interesting because no matter which way you go on your path, you never know when you're going to be able to go back in that filing cabinet in your head and grab that folder and dust it off and be like, okay, so this stuff I learned at the Roosevelt, I thought I maybe was never going to reference again, but now I'm going to apply it. And, had you not had that experience and kind of, explored other industries, you might not be set up for that. So I do think, sometimes people are very hyper-focused on progressing within a very narrow lane of, I want to become a specialist coordinator, manager, director, VP or whatever, but within a very, narrow marketing lane, or whether it's at a certain venue or something. And I think it is kind of to your benefit to kind of diversify your job if you have the opportunity.
Yeah. And I mean, I honestly, like when I left the industry, I was burnt out. I had started my internships at the age of 17 in college. Right. And I missed every night, weekend, holiday, bachelorette party, wedding, like so many things from my friends, like that were, in your early 20s that everybody's experiencing. And because I was always working and I loved it, but I was just burnt out. But I think I was probably out of the industry for like 5 years. It really just made like, I missed being, Kate from the X or, like as lame as that sounds, but I really missed, everything about the industry. And I was lucky enough that the general manager that I worked for at Nassau Coliseum, he used to work in Oakland and they were looking for a marketer. So again, somebody recommended me for the position. I actually turned down the job the first time because it wasn't the right fit. And then they came back a month later and said, hey, we'd really like you to come out here. And the rest is history, So it's been an interesting ride, but I also I want to encourage people also, don't be afraid to make the move. Don't be afraid to go to a new market. If you don't know anybody, you can, if you have the opportunity, right? A lot of us have families and we can't just pick up and leave. But if there's young people on this, listening, I definitely encourage you to just try it. You can always go home, but right. I mean, I knew nothing about Arizona when I accepted this role. I just knew that there was 2 opportunities. One was in a very cold market. One was in a very warm market. I'm a very warm market. Let's try it. Let's see what happens. And it's worked out really well for me. So I've been fortunate enough that I've been able to be one of those people that can pick up and kind of go if somebody dangles, the carrot in front of me. But it's just been my choice as to how I've wanted to do my career and experience new places. But if you have at least one opportunity to do it, I would highly recommend it to people.
Yeah, it's amazing how quickly people get locked down into one place, and that's just where they are for life. Mm-hmm. So I always tell my interns, I'm like, go get out there, man, go out there and take those risks. That's a good time to do it. Mm-hmm. So Kate, you've mentioned a couple of times we've touched on the pandemic a little bit, but it's always it was a big transition time for so many of our listeners, and so maybe everybody really. So talk to us a little bit about what you were doing, heading into the pandemic and then for the dark times.
Sure. I mean, again, ASM Global had just kind of, been created that October of 2019, and we were just trying to figure out who we were as an organization. There were some regionals from the SMG side of the business, and myself and Rosie Sell, who I believe you guys know, from the AEG side. We were just kind of figuring out, how to mesh everything together. And then we really kind of started getting the group together as a whole, doing calls. And then, March 15th or 13th or 15th hits, and, it was just kind of pivot and let's figure out what we're doing. And we really use that time to understand kind of the organization, right? How are our venues set up? What does a marketing department look like in a, A market, B market, C market? How is the convention center division set up differently than the arena, stadium, theater division? What people are in what positions? What tools do they have available to them? Who is their website provide? Kind of like, where are the synergies within the company? And really kind of trying to figure out, okay, what does it look like to be an ASM Global marketer, and kind of developing that toolkit, based on the kind of benchmarking where folks were at and leveling that playing field. So we also did a lot of, we were in constant communication with the field, always doing, monthly or weekly or biweekly calls, depending on kind of the state of the pandemic. When we were a very thin team, a lot of our venues lost their marketing departments. We were doing weekly calls just so that everybody kind of felt connected and knew that they weren't alone. We were developing social media calendars and content for folks because there were a lot of GMs that were left kind of holding the bag and didn't really know how to activate their social media or what to post or how to post. So we were creating all this content for them and pushing it out so that they could use it for, a lot of the low hanging fruit, right? Hey, today's Prince's birthday, or,
right,
National Margarita Day. You still might have a liquor partner that you have to show some love to. Here's some ways that you can do it that's not really tied to an event because you don't have any events. And then getting a lot of subject matter experts in to do some training. We did Google Analytics training for the field. We did a lot of social media best practices with the field, PR, sponsorship and premium seating, and just kind of having everybody come in and use it as a time of learning and growth for the folks that were still there. We also worked to announce our Venue Shield program, which was our, proprietary hygienic program for our venues for when people were returning to live events and getting people, making sure that we had the right cleaning and safety and COVID protocols in place across all of our venue types. So we were rolling that out as an organization as well. So at a corporate level, it was developed at the high level. And then my role was to really push it out to the venues, make sure that they had graphics, make sure that they had content for the web, make sure that they had the press release, and that everybody, that flow of information was pretty seamless.
I think a lot of venues, hopefully, or companies in all industries really, hopefully took advantage of the opportunity to kind of hit the reset button or self-assess a bit, kind of soul search. Because so many times you're just in the run and gun and you're like, yeah, we would really love to approach this differently, but we're so far in the trenches right now. We've got to worry about the thing that's tomorrow night, not how we're going to reinvent ourselves. Right. And so I think you probably saw that on a much grander scale, because it was with so many venues and just the timing of it being right after that merger, that it was, probably the downside was that it was like, oh my gosh, you're seeing these fires burning all over the country instead of just in one little city. But also hopefully it provided the opportunity to be like, okay, we really get to decide what we want to be and as a company as a whole, and what service we want to provide to these venues, and how we can really sort of rebuild the ship from the bottom up. And how do you take advantage of that? So exactly. I think, yeah, it's definitely a unique opportunity, and I do feel like people that maybe are going back to business as usual and exactly how it was before maybe missed the boat on that, because they really should have not only sort of assessed of how do we change, how are we better, but also, you're afforded this unique, weird opportunity that no one wanted, but you should be able to take advantage of it.
Right. And at the same time, it wasn't just like us talking to the venues and putting information, like just spewing it at them, right? We also took the opportunity to learn from our venue marketers, right? What do you need from us at a corporate level? I feel like a lot of times there's a lot of like, here's who we are as a company and we're going to give this to you, right? But if it doesn't work for the field, it's not going to move your business forward. So we really used it as well as a learning opportunity. Like I know most of my venue marketers, whereas before they might have just been an email address, right? Or, and it was just how it was, right? But now it's funny, I've worked with our director of marketing down in New Orleans, like hand in hand every single day throughout this pandemic. And it's crazy to both of us that we've never met in person. Right. Yeah. Because I feel like this person is like a day-to-day, like member of my family. So it's been great to have those relationships with our marketers in the field, but also learn from them. Like, what do they need from us from a corporate support? How can we make their jobs easier? How can we help them work smarter, not harder, right? More efficient? What tools do they need from us? What are the roadblocks that they have either, with their contract administrator or the promoters? Like, how can they use us to help do their job better? And how can we be a better resource for them?
Yeah, I think it's so funny too, how people sort of before the advent of Zoom, everyone was kind of like, oh, I've got, Zoom fatigue. I'm like so tired of Zoom, because it really isn't a substitute for people that you work with in an office. But one of the great things about it is people that you don't work with, you normally would probably do that conference call on the phone. So then now you're like putting a face with them. And it is this kind of funny thing where, you are like much more personally connected with someone than you ever would have been. And, even on the conference side and all kinds of, there's people that I was so busy with the conference, I might have like a catch up with someone every so often or do kind of like a whatever group chat or something. But then we would like see each other at various conferences, and we found ourselves like doing regular monthly, like house party things or something. And it's like they're as much as it maybe hurt the closer kind of like very sort of central whatever building relationship, because it didn't really substitute that. It probably expanded all those ones that are a lot further out, family that's across the country, people that you're working with in buildings across the country that now you're seeing their face, you're feeling a lot more connected to them.
Yeah, and personalized our jobs in our industry, right? Because again, like we all get those emails, we're just like firing them back, right? Or like right. Now, like, these people, right? And I mean, again, it's just kind of the nature of the beast. Like we're all just trying to like get so much stuff out, right? And so you're just kind of firing stuff away. But this, like, you had to slow down. You had to like talk to people. You had to like understand them. You got to know them a little bit, right? There's a lot of small talk now at the beginning, whereas before it's like, hey, what is your ROI on this? Or how are you measuring up against your KPIs? Or I don't have time to talk. Like, just get this out the door. And now it's just kind of like, oh, hey, how's it going? How are you? Like, so it's been nice. Yes, there is still a little bit of Zoom fatigue, but I mean, I don't know the last time I've had a conference call not on video.
Right.
Like you said. Yeah. A lot of people might disagree with me, but I kind of like it.
No, I'm with you, because I do think that there is that it just creates that a much more personal connection with people, which I think is as we've talked about throughout today's podcast, a key to success in so many ways. Kate, as we kind of wrap things up and look towards the future, what excites you about the future of this industry and the future of arena marketing?
Oh gosh. I mean, I just think there's so many things that we as an industry haven't even tapped into, right? That just from a technology standpoint, live streaming of shows, artist experience, just a little bit of every, I mean, there's so many shows out there right now. Like it's crazy. But I also think like, and I know all of our marketers are like, yeah, you're say that again for the people in the back. But I just think that there's just so many opportunities for just advancements in like the guest experience. I think that we're going to see a lot more kind of broadcast, live stream, artist engagement with fans in different ways. I don't know. Some people are starting to bring back the meet and greets and that sort of thing, but I think that they're going to figure out kind of a new style. It's not just going to be like, hey, let's wait in line. It's going to be more interactive.
We just had AJR here last week, and they played dodgeball at the meet and greet. So that's the meet and greet, right? As you get to go play dodgeball with the band. Right.
And it's really about experiential marketing now, right? It's not just, hey, come and buy a ticket, grab a $27 beer and watch a concert. It's like, what is that experience, right?
Yes.
Because there's so much going on in every one of these markets where there's a building. We're still competing against the TV and somebody's couch, or, what's happening at the local bar. So figuring out what those experiences are going to be that are going to keep the fans coming to our venues. And just I'm also very excited just about like the caliber of the venues that are being built around the world right now. Like there are some amazing facilities
spaceships
that are being built and opening. And not just arenas and stadiums, but the convention centers, the theaters, like they're like the entertainment districts. It's just it's really, we're not just a concert venue anymore. We're an experience. And I think like that's probably what excites me the most, is kind of being a part of this. We've all kind of been on this wave, this technology wave as an industry. I think I was still buying advertising by the column inch when I first started in the industry, right? And it's like, hey, look at me now. I know how to place a pixel, right? It's just like, we've just come like such a long way. And I'm just really excited to kind of see what that customer journey and that fan experience looks like in the next like 5 to 10 years.
Now, for our podcast listeners, they don't get to see the fact that you've got this great coffee mug that says, I love my dog.
I do.
Tell us about the dog.
I'm a dog mom. I have 3 dogs. I have Norman, Nash, and Nellie. I'm a rescue parent. I highly believe in rescue and encourage people to rescue pups. But yeah, they're my life. They have a good life. I work hard so they can have a good life. But
what kind of dogs?
They're just little like Chihuahua Terrier rescues. Little mutts, but they keep me grounded. So.
That's awesome. Hey, it's all about finding that balance and not letting yourself get burned out.
Exactly.
Before we let you go, I want to hit you with our fast 5. It's 5 quick questions, just looking for your instant response. First up, what was your very first concert?
My first concert with my parents was the Beach Boys at Tanglewood in the Berkshires. My first concert by myself, I was really cool, and I got to see Vanilla Ice with my friends in middle school.
How about your favorite concert?
Oh God, I have too many to name.
Right.
Too many. I can't have one.
How about a venue bucket list? Is there a venue you haven't been to yet that you'd love to go see a show at?
I still haven't been to Red Rocks.
Me too. I'm on that. It's on my list.
And the
what's your pet peeve? What's your biggest pet peeve?
Mean people.
Mean people suck.
Yeah, it doesn't cost anything to be nice,
Last question. What is your theme song? So there's a TV show all about you. The cameras follow Kate around all throughout your life. What is the theme song that plays over the opening credits to your show?
Black Betty by Ram Jam.
Very nice.
This is so I know you guys know my buddy Cochet. I was told him, man, if I was going to be a WWE superstar, my name would be Black Betty. My entry song would be Black Betty. It's just my vibe, It's just like it just gets me going.
That's awesome. Hey, Kate, if somebody wants to reach out or follow you, I know we mentioned the Insta handle, but you want to plug any social stuff or any venues, that kind of fun?
Sure. Yeah. Please reach out to me on LinkedIn. That's where I'm probably the most active. And then, if you want to shoot me an email, it's just my first initial and last name at asmglobal.com. So KGIROTTI at asmglobal.com. And, I love to mentor young people. I'm part of a lot of mentorship groups. I'm a member of, Women in Sports and Events here in Arizona. So I'm always about, helping people, answering questions, and providing guidance wherever I can. I think it's important because our industry is so small. To always help people get to where they want to go. So please don't hesitate to reach out. I'd love to, talk to as many people as possible. And hopefully you guys will be at EAMC.
You're going to be on a panel, right?
I am. I'm on a panel. I believe it is on Thursday morning. I'm back to basics, kind of revisiting the basics of marketing.
Very cool. I definitely look forward to seeing you there in person and not on the Zoom. But I appreciate you taking the time for us today. I know it's a very busy schedule, but some great adventure there that's unlike any other. So truly appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. I look forward to seeing you guys in June.
And a big thanks to everybody for listening to today's episode of Adventures in Venueland. Remember, you can subscribe and find more episodes wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. We'd love your 5-star reviews so you can help others find us. Until the next adventure, I'm Dave Rettelberger.
And I'm Paul Hooper. Thanks for listening, everyone. Adventures in Venueland is a side project of the Event and Arena Marketing Conference.
a nonprofit organization bringing together people in the field of live entertainment to discuss marketing, publicity, and sales trends. Find out more at eventarenamarketing.com.
Audio editing and mixing by Camille Faulkner.
Design and digital advertising by Megan Ebeck.
Copywriting and publicity by Samantha Marker.
Guest booking and brand strategies by Paul Hooper.
Guest research by Dave Rettelberger.
Marketing strategies by Paul Hooper, Megan Ebeck, and Samantha Marker. Thanks for joining us. Until the next adventure.